Like that ah?
Hi Tash, welcome to the Fairly Current Show.
Thank you.
This is we're going to talk about the second book that you have made. The first one being The Harmony Silk Factory. This one, okay,
Because it's a very heavy book.
Yeah, heavy book. Yeah. It's quite big. This one, the bigger one, obviously, is Map of the Invisible World. Yeah. So, Tash, if you can, the two books are located in the Southeast Asian region, whereas yourself right now, although you were born in Malaysia, but you are now based in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why are you fascinated with writing stories set in these locations, and how do you kind of make sense of that?
Well, I mean, that's quite easy to answer because I'm Malaysian and my
That answers the question. Sorry.
Yeah.
We had this fight about who should claim you, Malaysia or what? Okay. So,
I mean, that's pretty easy. I mean, I'm Malaysian. You know, so that's not a problem. I mean, I don't have I don't have cultural confusion. Right. I'm a Malaysian who lives in London. That's pretty easy. And I guess, because I spent the first 18 years of my life in Malaysia, they're very formative years and they stay with you and you can't really escape your roots. And my family still live here. I come back a lot, so I've never really felt that there's a rupture. There's never been a rupture between me and Malaysia. So for me, it's an obvious thing to do to write about the country that I occupy emotionally, and as to why my range is broadening to Indonesia and maybe with the next book beyond. That is because. I guess growing up in Malaysia, you're always aware that it's a country very linked to other countries, and that the fate of Malaysia is linked to the fate of other countries. So you only have to look at the impact of Indonesian migrant labour, for example, in Malaysia, and see how important the link between Indonesia and Malaysia is. So that's why I still write about Southeast Asia, and I will continue to for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Let's talk about the immediate present, where you are on a tour to promote your second book, and you've gone to quite a number of countries, right? And after this, you'll be going to Toronto.
I will be going to Toronto. Yeah.
Okay. So, what have been some of the more interesting, peculiar, or thought-provoking questions that you've been asked, and how has, especially those that made you think about yourself as a writer, the process of writing?
Well, it's a terrible thing to say, but the dreadful thing about being on book tour is that you do so many interviews that actually the questions become pretty standard, apart from this show, of course. I think a lot of people want to know the same things. They're important things about writing a novel. What the seeds of inspiration were. I think a lot of people want to know that. How I write, I think that's been another kind of fairly kind of an obvious thing that people want to know. They want to know exactly like how I set up my writing day, the structure, like how many hours I write, or how many words a day I write. Right. People like detail.
It's like I want to know what Lance Armstrong's regime to keep on doing.
Absolutely, and I am obviously the Lance Armstrong of writing. So people ask me about which. No, I don't drug myself up when not Lance Armstrong obviously doesn't drug himself up, but people want to know things like that. They want to sort of imagine that there's some kind of magic about writing. They want to know if I drink a special kind of tea or coffee that gives me kind of inspiration when I write. But in fact, the sad truth is that actually writing is a very boring thing, and the writer's routine is really quite dull. You wake up, you write some more, and then you go to sleep. So it's really not very interesting.
Let's talk a bit about, because the questions people ask also reveal something about the kind of milieu, the kind of where they're from, the background, kind of things that's running around, right, in their minds. In terms of Malaysia, the Malaysian landscape, right now, how the economic situation is affecting us all, and how that, in a way, impacts the almost non-existent book culture. So, how do you think Malaysian writers, or at least publishing houses in Malaysia, I mean MPH being one, of course, right? How do you think it's going to affect that kind of trying to sell books, trying to encourage people to buy books, but people are not buying books, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the economic climate is ever going to have a direct bearing on people's reading habits. I think that
Malaysians don't read.
Yeah, I think I think there are exciting things being done in Malaysia at the moment, but the problem is we're still a long way from having a critical mass of writers, people who are writing, a large number of people who are writing a lot of interesting things, because I think it's pretty obvious that all good writing comes from good reading. And if the population in general isn't really interested in books, then you're never going to get vast numbers of people coming through and producing interesting writing. I think there'll always be a small number of people doing interesting work, but I'd like to see many more. I think ironically, in the economic downturn, books are one of the few things that are actually doing quite well, because I think if you're not going to buy your new car, then you have 100,000 ringgit more to spend on small things like books.
Yeah.
That says me optimistically. I mean, that's my hope anyway.
Yeah, you can buy his book. It's priced at So, Tash, you're actually trained as a lawyer. Yeah. So, do you ever imagine writing something based on that past of yours, marrying?
I never say never, but that is really not on the radar. I think that.
Did you hate it? Okay, that's it.
I didn't hate it, but it was a struggle.
Okay.
I think some people are cut out to be lawyers, and I really wasn't made to be a lawyer. I love the study of law, but the practice of law was something different altogether. I mean, when you say I was trained as a lawyer, I have to just qualify that. Trained as a lawyer makes it sound like some Zen Buddhist training. I mean, I qualified as a lawyer, but the whole process from start to finish really took 4 years. So that's not a big chunk of my life.
Yeah, kind of like how I'm trained as a chemical engineer. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I don't do any.
You studied it for
I studied it.
Years,
You read law.
I read law. Yeah.
Talking about reading, and you're a writer. Would you mind signing this book?
Not at all.
Thank you. It's a smaller version of this one.
It's.
Quite small.
Not much more.
Yeah, make it out to. Actually, you can make it out to Popteevee or the Fairly Current Show. The Fairly Current Show. To the Fairly Current Show. Awesome. For a writer, your writing is quite bad. I'm just kidding. Thank you for coming on the show.
I've only signed about 5,000 books since I got here.
I know. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The unwelcome word of the week is bora or boda. Bora, boda. Go away, sometimes in a figurative sense of get out of here. From the Tamil. When the DVD scandal broke, he insisted he wouldn't resign, but everyone else told him to bora. Bora, right?